Open your cerebral cortex and shift your lobes into upper beta phase because you are going to have Bitcoin knowledge transmitted directly into your vestibulocochlear. Your host at Bitcoin Knowledge is Trace Mayer, an early Bitcoin advocate since it cost $0.25, but this is not intended to be investment advice. A doctor of jurisprudence, but this is definitely not legal advice. And an investor in core cryptocurrency infrastructure, including Armory, BitPay, Kraken, and Mitagio, but this is not a recommendation of those services. Here, you get fed via direct mind download with pure and free Bitcoin knowledge.
Welcome back to the Bitcoin Knowledge Podcast. We have a tremendous guest with us today, Thomas France, actually from France, co-founder of the Ledger Wallet. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into Bitcoin, just in the very beginning?
Yeah, so we came into Bitcoin quite late in a way. If it was in 2013, we were working in a different payment startup at the time, and we actually sold our companies in December 2013. At the time, the price was hitting, I think, $1,000. And we had some time, we had some money, we had some energy and some time to spend on new projects, and we kind of went on the Bitcoin train at this time, and we started working on the Bitcoin space in France to kind of iterate on the different projects. We launched like a co-working space around Bitcoin. We put the first French ATM over there. Work on different projects, and we kind of try to gather the team to launch great projects out of France, and that's how we came up after a few months with Ledger Wallet, which is a hardware wallet based on a smart card.
Yeah, so this is very interesting. It's a hardware wallet. It's based on the smart card technology. Can you explore that a little bit? What do we mean by this smart card technology? Because not necessarily everybody in the U.S. is familiar with this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, smart cards is the little chip that you have on the new generation of credit cards. You might receive a new one in the coming weeks, and you will see this little thing that looks like a SIM card, and it's actually a smart card that have been present in credit cards for 20 or 30 years in France and Europe, and they have been securing credit card transaction in a very efficient way. In the US, it was just magnetic stripes, and there was all this targets breach and scandals of Russian hackers getting credit card numbers. And with the smart cards, you don't have this issue because the private credentials are stored on the secure environment, and the signature of the transaction are made there. And for Bitcoin, it was actually something that you could leverage, that technology, because it has been used and tested and hacked for many years, and you could use that technology for Bitcoin to store private keys, to sign transactions, and to really add a layer of security for Bitcoin.
Now, when you say it's in a secure environment, what do you mean by that? Is it in compliance with any particular standards that are out there?
Yeah, there's a lot of standards in that smart card industry. There's banking standards, so that the information stored in it cannot leak. It's in standards so that the code that runs on that secure microcontroller cannot be tampered, that they act against a definite specification. So it's really built on a strong know-how and certification history that was made to secure credit card transaction. It's also what secures basically passport information. When you see a little SIM on your passport, it's the same kind of thing. So it has been designed not to leak secrets and to run tamper-proof code.
Where are the actual private keys stored at? Because I think with some of the other hardware wallets that are out there, the private keys might actually be stored in the RAM, for example. Mm-hmm. Where are they? Where are the private keys actually stored on the Ledger Wallet?
Yeah, it's really if you have a look at the Ledger Wallet, it looks like a smart card. It looks like a USB key, but instead of having a USB, it's like a SIM card. And basically, within that, there's a very tiny, 1 millimeter on 1 millimeter microcontroller, and that's where the private keys are stored, basically.
When you say you can't tamper with that microcontroller at all, like why can't that be tampered with?
Well, it is designed in a way, so it's designed with layers of hardware, physically designed with layers of hardware and software, so that it has some mechanism, so that if malwares are coming in and try to change the code, it will disable itself. It has a certain amount of physical and software mechanism to protect against this kind of malware altering the code.
Does that have to do with the EAL 5+ certified smart environment or smart element?
These are some parts of the standards and certification that those kind of secure elements have to go through to be used by a banking system. And these are the kind of certification that do that.
So when we have different individuals and companies in the Bitcoin ecosystem that are, like trying to make their Trezor wallet or trying to make the Case wallet or whatever, we've already got standards, you're saying, for securing this type of information. Mm-hmm. We just need to apply those standards, and you've applied those standards with the Ledger wallet.
Exactly. That's what we do. After, people have different approaches, and there's some different approaches that needs to be tested, and we'll see which one get the best thing. So I guess, we think that a lot of work has been done by other industry to show these kind of standards. We basically don't want to reinvent the wheel and take the best that already exists and apply it for Bitcoin.
Do you think that the development of standards that might even be cryptocurrency or Bitcoin specific are going to be important to develop out as an industry? And if so, why do you think that would be?
Definitely, there's a need to have some good practice in that industry regarding security, for example, if we take that. So you already have some standards that are starting to work out to begin with C4, for example. And they will need to be those kind of certification more and more. It's still the beginning of an industry. So at the beginning, changes were not using multisig. Now they will be using more and more multisig. They will be using some hardware security module to be having some secure element within their servers to be sure that the transactions are signed properly and there's no risk. So there will be more and more new method to secure that. So and they will need some standards to have to specify all that for sure.
Yeah, so you mentioned C4, and I like the work that Michael Perklin and Mike Belshie from BitGo and John Velasarios from Armory have been doing over there. Looking at Armory specifically, John Velasarios comes from Accenture, where he would actually lead key generation ceremonies and do other work with Tier 1 financial institutions. And one of the critical parts in that is designing the entire policies and procedures around it, but also making sure that the hardware component in the process is in place. So the Ledger wallet, is it of the particular security standards that these enterprise level Tier 1 financial institutions could actually use in designing a Bitcoin strategy or a Bitcoin plan for, operating at the highest levels of finance?
Definitely something that we can provide, and today our basically develop an OS that runs on secured environment, secured piece of hardware. Today we demonstrated it could work on a smart card, but we just deployed that same OS within a trusted execution environment in very little time, because it's very portable, and we could apply that also for hardware security modules directly in bank. So all this OS, these APIs that we've developed for the Ledger wallet can actually be used for HSM security to secure the backend of this financial institution, as well as directly within trusted execution environment to secure people using their mobile phone directly.
So let's delve in a little bit more on these HSMs or these hardware security modules. What type of work have you been doing in that area?
So basically, it's a preliminary work. So some of the founders of our company have already been working on HSM many times and HSM integration for banks. So today we're still looking for people to work out and test some cheap HSM solution to do that, and it's something that could be done very easily in a couple of weeks, months, to be designing that for one of the partners.
You can't be around Bitcoin without having a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. So switching gears a little bit, you have a particular story that, or two that just kind of illustrates where you've had a lot of fun in this industry?
Let's say that the relationship with banks were like a fun story when we started working in the Bitcoin space. We had so many issues. It was funny to see the bank, funny to see bank accounts close and see that people were just like considering us like just like crypto anarchists from day one, and that we wanted to kill the bank. So it was quite actually good fun to meet these people who were kind of afraid of what we were doing, not understanding what we were doing, and in the meantime trying to fight against us. So yeah, it was not actually a fun thing, but
So how did that resolve itself? I think one of the French courts ruled that the bank had to keep the Mt. Gox bank account open. Because I guess like in France, bank accounts are more like public utilities and you can't just arbitrarily deny service or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did all this kind of play out? Getting your bank account shut down because they think you're like some crazy Bitcoiner?
It's basically the only problem was more like about cash handling, because we were operating an ATM, so it's like when you have too much money at one stage, the bank can decide, say, no, you deal with Bitcoin, I don't want to deal with Bitcoin, so let's just close your account. Sorry about that. I'm sure you will find somebody else. So just about finding the right partner, explaining them, and picking actually the right one that's ready to kind of and continue with you, because they know that you're not doing that because you have a bit of, you do your own KYC and you're not just like crazy. So as long as people understand that you're like a long-term business, get better with them. And for exchanges, you were mentioning this court that was talking about one of the subsidiary of Mt. Gox at the time. If you're an exchange, you just have to go through a certain number of policies. And if you are a money transmitter, you need a license, or you need to work with somebody who has the license. And if you do that, then you can operate.
So how is the Bitcoin economy over in Europe, and France particularly?
Well, in France, in terms of users, I guess it's not as bad. There's some user compared to the population. There's a couple of places that accept Bitcoin. In terms of startup, in terms of ecosystem, that's where maybe it's lagging behind. So I think it's not a question of France. It's a question about US, Silicon Valley against rest of the world, let's say. So there's not as many startup funded with $1 million per square kilometers, far less. So that's the problem. So it's lagging at some startups that are funded, so that there are some more employees working on that. So there are more people interested in. Gains momentum, it gains as soon as the ecosystem starts to grow and it feeds itself.
So you picked up roots and went to the land of flowing seed rounds in Silicon Valley, huh?
Exactly. Yeah, we raised like $1.5 million in February in France, which was actually the first funding of a Bitcoin company in France. And we knew that if we wanted to expand, we needed to be closer to where our potential partners are, and closer to a potential Series A if we were to do that. So we moved in San Francisco, and it's true that over there more people in meetups, more startups funded, more potential partners, more people to meet. So and you really see like a different dynamism in terms of an ecosystem that is already there and starting to grow and feeds itself.
So how are the startups in San Francisco? I mean, how often are they? How many people come? Like, what's the quality of the discussion?
Well, there's a weekly dev meetup, which is always interesting, with different startups presenting their APIs, presenting their products, getting feedback from the community. And there's always a good turnaround, maybe 50 to 100 person every time, with a good quality of speakers. And there's like more social meetup group that happens twice a month. So, and there's one in San Mateo with a hero found Boost VC Draper University. There's one in Silicon Valley. So I think there's like 2 meetups a week, something like that. And so, which is actually very, very good. And so it's a lot of occasion to meet new people in that community.
What do you think of Silicon Valley compared to France?
Well, the weather is more beautiful. The food, there's no cheese. No, it's not.
The food's not good. No cheese? Is
yeah,
that?
Exactly.
No cheese. What's your favorite kind?
Traditional camembert or comté is what I like. No, you cannot find them in San Francisco if you don't pay like $20 for a piece of cheese. So yeah, I guess the price is outrageous in the valley compared to France. For an engineer, it's like France, you can get good subsidies for a good engineer. So maybe $50,000, you've got a great quality engineer. In San Francisco, you need to pay 150 or between 100 and 150 to get some great engineer. So that's a real big difference. Silicon Valley, people are really focused about working, delivering the startups. I really like this atmosphere and very focused about that. Yeah, still love France, and I still go there quite often. And the ecosystem, the startup ecosystem there is growing well.
What are you most optimistic about when it comes to Bitcoin?
Well, I'm really optimistic about Bitcoin in general.
Why? Magic internet money, trading these magic beans with each other.
The technology, people tend to say, now I like the technology and not the currency that much. I think I like both because they're both like very intimate. And again, just having currencies to be able to put some contracts without any central authority, quick way, versatile way. That's really the only thing. This conceptual thing saying that you don't need a third-party authority to be doing what you do is just like, in terms of infrastructure, it's far more like powerful, far more fast, far more cheaper. And in terms of philosophy, it's like just better. So yeah, from that technology, you just say like it will gain momentum. How? I don't know. If is it going to be like Bitcoin as a currency will just be a reserve currency, will be a currency for the future? To be honest, I'm not sure, but I know that the underlying movement behind that is really exciting.
Man, it's just been wonderful. Thanks for taking the time to be with us. We've had Monsieur France from France,
exactly.
Right?
Monsieur France.
Founder and head of BizDev for
Exactly.
Ledger Wallet. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Be sure to get a copy of the free Bitcoin Guide at freebitcoinguide.com. Got a question or suggestion? Record your voice at bitcoin.kn. Don't be shy. To help the show, share bitcoin.kn with friends, post about it on Reddit, and otherwise spam the interwebs. Your iTunes comments and 5-star reviews are very important to us. Please continue tuning in to the Bitcoin Knowledge Podcast, where we release interviews with the top people in the Bitcoin world. Now take some choline and let that Bitcoin knowledge consolidate.